You're here.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Physically, mentally. This is the earliest time I've ever done a podcast.
Really?
You guys rise and grind. Early risers. No, I'm happy to be here. Dude, it's great to meet in person finally.
Dude.
I mean, we were at that wrestling event that one time, but you were one of those people yet that I had not, like, you meet so many people out here that, like, just connecting on social media, it's hard sometimes when you're in person. I don't know if you relate to this, but, like, when you, like, see somebody, you're like, wait, I think I follow you, but, like, you know, so it's like, it was one of those things when we were at that wrestling event, I was like, I think we know each other. But great to finally meet you in person.
I appreciate that, seriously, because it's like, I try my best to support everyone at the best that I can, not only just in wrestling, but like comedy and stuff like that too. So I really do appreciate that.
You gotta take care of yourself first, though.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's what's most important.
Well, I want to say, first of all, welcome to the Your Story podcast. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
You know, first and foremost, I do want to say is that before we get everything started, you have an event coming up. Well, post-production, it's already happened, but, you know, talk to us about it. Yeah,
I mean, to go back a bit, wrestling has always been something that's been a part of my life. My dad was a wrestler in the 80s, and he was the one that he didn't get like a deep, you know, he didn't get too deep into it before he unfortunately had to stop. And, you know, I was just born and he had to start a business. You know, he had to do I'm starting a family, and wrestling is too unpredictable. And he made that choice. From a very young age, he like immersed me in wrestling. Some of my earliest memories were seeing Hulk Hogan on the television and like, wow, this is such a spectacle. And, you know, jump forward a bit, it was my first step in entertainment. In the mid 2000s, I wrestled and I quickly found out I was a lot more into the entertainment side of wrestling than the physical side of wrestling. And so I only did it for a couple years full time, and since then I've done things in it, little indie spots and YouTube channels and all kinds of things. But I just, throughout the years, I couldn't like fully disconnect. I couldn't fully disconnect from this thing that was like a part of me. Like, I really feel like it's been a part of me. And so like doing this Nearly Average Wrestling, this company, it's kind of like a part of me that I feel like I do need to get back to wrestling, the thing that gave me so much, and kind of finish my dad's story a bit. I've had a lot of people question, is this a real company?
Right.
It is and it isn't. It is very much, it's wrestling. What is real? What isn't real? And that's what I love about wrestling, the illusion. And so I'm starting this company with the intent to build a brand, to do shows, and like this Now or Never show is the first step in that big direction of the vision of like creating my own brand within wrestling. Something very different though, like not the traditional like wrestling event.
No, I mean, I really appreciate what you're doing is trying to finish that story from your dad, and that's really cool. Before we get into NAW, though, let's talk about Shane. Let's talk about my
favorite thing to talk about.
Right. Well, no, okay, so let's first off go by this. So you grew up with, I want to say this right because I've been trying to remember it by heart, dysphonia.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about what was it like growing up with that?
Yeah, spasmodic dysphonia, it's interesting. It's a neurological condition that affects someone's speech. But the thing about me, and how lucky am I, you only usually get it when you're in 50 or between your 50s and 60s. Like, right. And it's a crazy condition in that like nothing is proven. There's no track record of what causes it. There's no definitive, I got this and then it led to this. It is just, you can wake up and get it. It can sometimes be triggered by trauma. It can sometimes be triggered by literally getting a common cold. It's such a new condition that scientists are like still trying to discover what it is, what it's about. The thing that they can closest compare it to, because of the part of the brain that it exists, is Parkinson's. But I'll never forget the moment that it literally like snapped. I was in like preschool chorus, and it was like we're going around in the circle and everybody was doing their notes, and they got to me and my voice just like switched and changed and everybody was laughing and I was laughing. I was like, what is going on? And from then on forward, my voice was never the same. And it was very tough when I was younger because it was a lot more intense. It was a lot more, I had a very thick case of it, I guess you could say, when I was younger. And since then, over the years, it's lessened and to almost non-existent. But it's still something I deal with, and it's something that there's no cure for. So it's if anything, like all these things I do in my life, NAW, my acting, any exposure I get, I want to raise awareness for this condition, because there are people out there that I've had the opportunity to meet and work with that truly suffer, like people that they cannot speak, like it and that's something like any, I don't want to liken it to losing your hearing or your sight, but like in a way, for some people, is like that. Imagine, you're one of your gifts, I would say, is one of your greatest gifts is your ability to speak. I think you're an amazing speaker, and imagine waking up tomorrow and that was just completely taken.
Right.
And so we're going to be giving, or we will have given, a portion of the proceeds from our NAW shows, I hope, moving forward, to Dysphonia International, which is an organization that like kind of oversees spasmodic dysphonia, an organization that I, work with, and it's just a close place to my heart. So yeah, it's something that, it's funny, like I've always had this undeniable passion for entertainment, whether it's acting, comedy, wrestling. To me, a stage is a stage, whether it's a film set or a comedy stage. It's all performing. It's all like theater. And I've had this undeniable passion, even since like I have footage literally of my parents when I was like 2, filming me with a VHS camera, and me constantly wanting to look through the lens. Like I am like repeatedly like, can I look? Can I look? Can I look? And so that tells me that this has always been in me.
Right.
To then get this, speech condition where it's like the tool of performing is speaking for the most part. And to then have that kind of taken away from me at a young age, it posed challenges, but it also, it really forced me, all these people, I was deeply insecure about when I was younger, but all these people are like laughing at me. So it's like, I found that doing different voices makes it easier to speak, or doing characters, or impersonating my teachers when I have to do a speech or a presentation in class. It deterred the laughter from coming at me than to laughing with me. So then I think that is how I found comedy, and like enjoying whatever that feeling was.
No, I mean, the gift of laughter is a really beautiful gift, because like I feel like, especially from my perspective, is you could create a good vibe within a room. You could make someone's day. You can make someone's day even a little bit better.
Yeah.
Or just say, hey, this guy made me laugh, or this guy made me smile for once. It's like, it's a really cool thing to bring positivity in the world.
Yeah, it's the most important thing to me. Like, I think it should be the most important thing for humans. We're all energy, dude. Everything's energy.
Oh, for sure. So speaking about your comedy, I want to talk about the transition from professional wrestler to comedy. What was that like, and did you find any kind of difficulties at first with it?
It wasn't difficult. I had been doing home videos, and since my parents would let me use their video camera, and I haven't stopped making content since. I mean, the tools have changed, obviously, but when I was wrestling, there was like, my characters were always the most like big and goofy, and I was very audience interactive. And so I was still doing comedy in my mind.
Right.
But I was always in the back of my head, like, I'm doing this as a path to do what I really want to do, which is like acting and entertainment and comedy, which is not the route you should take. If you're in wrestling, you should like fully devote your heart to wrestling. When I was about 2 or 3 years in, this little site called YouTube popped up, and I immediately was blown away, because before, to post content online, it was very difficult. Like you had to like host it on your site, and people had to download it. I remember E-Bombs World was like one of the first that like you could go on and watch a video, and I was like, this is insane. And then to have a site pop up where you could just so easily upload videos and anybody could see them, I immediately jumped in and just started doing what I was doing before, which was just literally being shown to people via VHS tape at school, to then uploading those sketches to YouTube, and then quickly getting like we were one of the first, I guess you could call us sketch comedy groups
Right.
on YouTube, and that is where I started getting some attention. I got some attention from like the Tonight Show, and then I got my first representation, which then snowballed to like commercials and films and all that kind of stuff. So it was a pretty easy transition because I was already kind of doing it, and then this thing popped up, YouTube, and I was like, that's what I want to be doing. And that's literally quickly within months, I stopped wrestling full time.
Yeah. No, that's cool that you're really doing what you're loving, what you're passionate about, content creation and all that. It's really cool. It reminds me of something too. I don't know if you're familiar with Yacht Rock, but
yes,
the documentary series that came out just before YouTube came out. So that's something that I feel like people benefited a lot when YouTube came out too, was that putting out that content.
Yeah, I mean, it changed the world of entertainment, definitely. And yeah, I mean, it's now, YouTube is, I feel like it's like, I don't know how you view it, but it's like there's film, television, and YouTube. But YouTube kind of spawned off into Twitch and all these other platforms, and or like, it was really the beginning of this whole new generation.
Oh yeah, it just sparked off like that. Speaking about sparking off, I do want to mention a couple films that you were a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenobi, let's talk about that. And Station 19 and all those other films. What was it like being on set for those?
I mean, Star Wars alone will go down as one of the coolest experiences. Like, I'm never gonna like be one of those people that, yeah, I was in Star Wars. Like, it's still, to me this day, it's like, it is the one thing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this. And this isn't ego talking. Like, this is a very tough business. This is an insanely tough business. And so what I urge, especially friends getting into the business or people that have been in it a long time, that here's an example. If you're going into an audition and you're like, man, what am I doing? Like, if you're struggling with like, I got nothing going on, I urge people, like before an audition or something, look at your resume, look at your experience, look at the things you've been able to accomplish so that you can just like ground yourself and remind yourself like, oh my gosh, like this journey that I've had, we've been able to already accomplish so much, because it's so hard in this business to like, or it's so easy, I should say, to forget what you've done. And it's so important to remember where you've come from, your journey. And Star Wars will always be something that I have to pinch myself about. Grew up a huge Star Wars kid. I'll never forget getting the audition, and it was very, they had to be very secretive about it. So there were like dummy sides, code names, but I kind of started putting the pieces together of like, okay, this lady's the director, and I see on her IMDb this untitled Star Wars project, and I'm like, I think this audition's for Star Wars. And did the audition and didn't hear for weeks and forgot about it, and then woke up one day and like, it was very quickly like, you're in the mix. And then 2 hours later, you booked it. Here's your Lucasfilm release form. And there's been very few times in my life where I've had to like lay on the ground to kind of just like, I think, snap back into reality. Like, what is happening? I mean, I'm this kid with this vocal condition. This is like, this shouldn't have happened for me like this. And I'm just, every day, like, I have a journal, and like I'm so grateful for what this life and my reality, whatever reality I was lucky enough to snap into, that what it's given me. And like, that Star Wars will forever be one of the coolest. And I'll never forget getting in the trailer and going to set, and it's me and the other stormtrooper in our scene, and then Ewan pops in, dressed as Obi-Wan. Yeah. And he just goes, hello there. And I'm like, you said the thing. And I just like, immediately all the nervousness like left me. And it was just surreal. It'll always be surreal. And the coolest thing I've ever done.
Absolutely. I mean, especially being on set as a stormtrooper and then seeing one of your people that you grew up idolizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just say the line.
Especially the prequels. For me, the prequels, I mean, they had a bad rap at the time, but like they're kind of regaining this like this attention, or this like they're getting a lot of new love. Like, I think they should. And that was my childhood. The prequels, like, it hit me just at the best time.
Okay, do you have a favorite Star Wars movie though? Out of all of them from the trilogies, do you have an all-time favorite one?
You know what's funny? I think Revenge of the Sith.
Really?
Yeah, episode 3. I think episode 3, I mean, excuse me, Episode 3 came out the day before I graduated high school. So like
Wow.
the memories associated. Force Awakens also is a close second because the memories associated. But Revenge of the Sith, yeah, I saw it the day before I graduated high school, and like it was a midnight screening. I'm graduating high school the next day. Like, it just, that's the one that I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, again, Star Wars, right? It's mind-blowing. One thing I do have to mention, though, is that you talk about Star Wars, but you also had a lot of celebrity appearances throughout comedy shows as well. One live comedy show I want to talk about is you with Chris Pratt. How, like, to me, just saying that sentence is freaking awesome. So, like, how awesome was that? Can you talk to us about that experience?
Yeah. So it had been years at this point where people had been telling me, you look like Chris Pratt. You should do something with that. Do an impression, do a sketch, do something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I've done impressions of him since, but like he's not a very distinguished, like Jack Black is an impression I do, and it's like, dude, listen. So that's a very more distinct and easier for me an impression because the voice is so distinct. Now Pratt is just, he's very kind of straightforward. So I remember then I was thinking, then I stumbled across this idea of like, what if I did like a comedy show with him? Wait, how could I do a comedy show with him? Like, what would that process look like? So I then created what was only supposed to be one called the hopefully Chris Pratt Shane Hartline show, which was just a mix of a publicity stunt and like crazy sketch show.
Right.
But with no intent of him really coming to do it. And it was no intent of it being more than just one show. And it was at iOS at the time, which was like my home theater. I miss it so much. And we did the show and it got so much attention, like from press to the theater. Cause like I was talking to you about earlier, is like anytime I do a show, I really want to make it a spectacle. And NAW is no different, but the theater after this first show was just like, oh, you do this monthly. This is awesome. This is different. And so I immediately got my own main stage show by accident. It was like not by accident. I guess I did it intentionally, but you know, it wasn't intended to be like a monthly main stage show. And it was about 6 to 7 shows in. And I wake up the night of like our 6th, I think it was our 7th show. And my buddy that was on the show, he texts me, he's like, you're not going to believe this. And day of the show. And he's like, you're not going to believe this. I am at yoga and Chris Pratt's here. I'm going to go talk to him. And I'm like, you know, so many people in this town like say things and you're just like, okay, bud. Yeah, you go talk to him. Right. And apparently he did. And he's like, after he called me, he left yoga. He's like, dude, I went up to Pratt. He already knows about the show. He loves it. He's in town tonight and he's going to come. And he gave me his number. And I'm like, wait, what? So this like thing that I thought was like this like just a joke is like a reality. And it's like, oh, now I started panicking. I'm like, now what? What do I do when he comes? Like, because everybody was always like, well, what are you going to do if he shows up?
Right.
Because every show was just like trying to get him to come. That was the through line with other things happening. And the whole day I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually happening. This is going to be insane. We get to the show. We're doing like this rehearsal before. And my buddy walks up to me and Chris Pratt is FaceTiming him. I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? And he's like, he can't make it, but he wants to FaceTime into the show. And I'm like, I had one of these like, I'm so glad I thought of this in that moment. I'm like, well, and this wasn't entirely true, but I did this is a business tactic, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, well, tell him thank you so much. And it's totally understandable that he can't make it. But if he can send us a video, it'll be a lot easier to show on the screen than a FaceTime, which is kind of true at the time. But I also knew that if I had that video, I could use it forever. And he sent a video, and it starts with like, hey, Shane Hartline, Chris Pratt here. Sorry I couldn't make it tonight, but like wanted to say I support the show. And so I've used that footage of like Chris Pratt saying my name so many times in so many different things. But yeah, so that's how he like kind of like was a part of the show.
Yeah, no, that's dope.
And him and I connected.
I mean, even if he didn't show up, I mean, that's still a huge moment,
Sure,
right? You know what I mean? Because it's like a huge time celebrity. You got this big show, and like just for him to make an appearance, I think there's like a big pop, as we call it in the wrestling business, for it.
It definitely, it did. I haven't had the opportunity to thank him. Yes, I have. He followed me like a couple years ago on Instagram, and I sent him a message thanking him for like, hey, thanks for letting me do this show about you all those years. and he liked it, and he was, but I haven't had the chance to like meet him in person yet and thank him, because it like hit that video alone. He didn't have to do that. Like,
right.
He took time, and it was a risk for him, to like, he doesn't really know what this show is, to like send a video to it. And so, but it did help me so much. It like really like, it brought a lot of new attention to me, and this it just kind of elevated my presence a bit in the comedy scene, which was something that at that time I was really fighting to like establish my place in.
Oh yeah,
in the LA comedy scene, or improv scene specifically.
No, I mean, again, that's a huge start, and it's cool to see you get that edge. Okay, we got to talk about content.
Yeah.
And not just content in terms of social media or whatever. We're talking about content with Shane Hartline.
Okay.
Content.
I'm sorry. It's all good.
Okay, but can we talk about that for a
You can
little
only
bit?
make 3 mistakes in this podcast.
So there's one.
That's your first mistake. It's all good.
So can you talk to us about that? What was the creative process behind that?
Yeah, so at the time I was very, I will say, lost creatively. Like, I've always made content, but sometimes I haven't made it with, I've been maybe making it for the wrong reasons, like making it to just try to get attention or just try to get views. And instead, I feel like all content you make that's always like an underlying factor, but I think you should make anything from like a passion, like a genuine, like, I need to make this. And so it was at the time, like, I didn't know what to make. So I started doing it with like, well, I need to make something. Because I haven't in a really long time, like that, and I like working with people. So it was like I created this show called Content with Shane Hartline, which was like a mix of a podcast and kind of like like some kind of like, I saw it as like a mix of a podcast and like not a late night show, but something like that, and where I would interview people and then we would shoot a sketch and document that process. I did about 10 to 15 episodes, and then I just kind of got bored with it, truthfully. And like, so I also urge people, like, listen to yourself. Don't force yourself to make things because you're like, well, now I'm making this and I hate it. But like, I didn't hate it, but like, I just like kind of got a little bored, and it's still out there. People can consume it, and I might revisit it again at another point. But it was what overtook that interest at that time was I found this like little lane with wrestling content. And I was like, here comes this bubbling interest of wrestling again. And started doing those writer's room sketches. And that was like, really opened this new door and brought so much new attention to me. And I was like, oh, this is something I'm excited about and I'm enjoying doing, which should be like the foundation of any content, I think.
Right.
Like a genuine interest and passion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially if it ignites someone to follow their passions and stuff like that, too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So do you have a favorite episode?
Of Content?
Yeah. That's a personal favorite.
Yeah. I would say my friend Josh Server. Josh, he was on a little show called All That back in the day. 90s Nick sketch show. He was a very prominent part of that show, I think, on every season. And I've been so lucky to become friends with him over the past 10 years. He was a groomsman at my wedding. And so his episode was really fun because I like messed with him a little bit and made him like dress like a 90s kid again and like always kind of torture him a bit with content. But yeah, that one I think is my favorite and probably the first one I would push people to see.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that you have background in acting and comedy and all that, but you also in directing.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to point out, because I checked it out recently, is this film called Cookie.
Oh, you saw Cookie?
Yeah.
Thank you, dude.
And can you talk to us about what was the inspiration for that film?
Yeah, that, man, Cookie it happened when I think I needed it most. It was a very big time in my life for a certain reason. So before I made Cookie, I was never public about my vocal condition. It was something I hated about myself. Yeah. And that is something like a lot of negative energy. And for a lot of years of my life, just directed at this thing internally. And I didn't realize how that toll that was taking on me. And I'll never forget just like driving down the road one day and I was like, what is it going to take for me to get the to the next level of like being able to showcase what I can do via filmmaking. And it's like listening to the Duplass brothers, they wrote a book. And something in it, I don't know if they said this verbatim, but like, tell your story. What is your story?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shit, there it is. I've never seen anybody, one, tell the story of spasmodic dysphonia, I've never seen it depicted in any film. It's never been depicted in film. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to tell that story. And just started the process of like writing it and then pre-production. And we ended up doing a Kickstarter that raised like $50,000 because we had the support of this community that was like, finally, someone's going to tell our story.
Right.
Finally, someone is going to help us raise awareness for this. And like, it was so therapeutic. And I felt this, like literally this bag of rocks start to come off my shoulder. Like we've heard that kind of like saying, but I really felt it. It wasn't all immediate at once, but it's just like one at a time. I felt these rocks coming off my shoulders, like, and it was terrifying, but also something I realized that I didn't realize how much I needed to like, just be like, yeah, this is what I have. Because I always thought going public about it, like people, directors, producers, casting would be like, well, we don't want to hire him if he can't fully give us what we're looking for. Because I always thought like, you know, I'm going to end up on a set. And it happened once when I was younger on a set and I wasn't able to speak up for myself. But, you know, some directors, they're very particular on how you say things exactly. And to me, that's not acting because I think everybody speaks different, moves different, behaves different. And then if you're a director and you're like, no, but I want you to say it just like this. I'm like, then why didn't you do it? You know, because this is my tool and this is my way I paint. And I don't know, that I went off on a tangent, but I needed to do that to open up about this. And then since then, like I don't know if it was a part of it. I'd like to think that it was, but like that's when Station 19 happened, Star Wars happened, all these new things happened because I think I began the process of like allowing myself to finally breathe, to finally open up. And I think like, you know, not to get like spiritual or too deep, but like to get technical, like breathing is such a big part of acting. And like, I literally felt like I could finally breathe. Yeah. It was interesting.
No, I mean, like I said, it's a great film. One thing I do have to mention on top of that, though, it was that, do you think it was a challenge bringing personal stories into the film?
Not after I kind of went public about it. I think like, if anything, like to answer your question, like the beginning of that whole process was, there's like a Facebook support group of people with this condition. And like the beginning of that process was me going to them to kind of ask for their blessing but also see if this is something they would be interested or they would support, you know, being represented on film. Like I just kind of wanted their blessing a little bit, the people. And I can't explain to you the outpouring of like, please, like, how can I help? Like, what can I do? And this quickly went from being like, oh, I'm just going to raise like $3,000 to $5,000 of my own money to make this to, oh my God, maybe I could do a Kickstarter because all these people want to be a part of this. And so it quickly became this thing like, oh, I have to tell this story. This isn't for me. This wasn't for me. This was for all these people that want their voices heard, no pun intended, but also to be represented. And it was life-changing. It was really life-changing and it was the first time I'd ever met other people with the condition and spoke to other people with the condition. And yeah, it wasn't for me, if that makes sense.
All right. So, well, like I said, it's very cool just to see that story and see you spreading awareness for this. So it was really cool kind of witnessing that firsthand.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Like I said, it went from something that I thought was going to be like a $3,000 to $5,000 project, which I've made those. I made things for nothing, you know. So to make it for like, I mean, it was a legit set. It was like a dream come true to like have that experience, and I learned so much from it. Like what I maybe didn't need, what like I maybe needed to put more focus on. But that's the filmmaking process. Is like you learn so much after every single project. But I'm so grateful to have been able to experience, you know, already in my life, like, oh, this was a full-on set experience. Like full crew, looked better than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
We did run into our festival time being right at COVID, so that kind of effed it up. But it's out there. You can search Cookie short film on YouTube, and you can see it.
Absolutely. And there will be a link in the bio, too, in case anybody want to check that out. So, Shane, I do want to say thank you so much for joining on, but I have a quick couple questions for you, if that's cool. So, for anybody that wants to create content, because, like, of course, you've been very successful with that, with NAW and doing the comedy stuff. What advice would you give someone that wants to pursue content creation?
I think, like, several things, but, like, I think the most important thing is to like really do deep soul searching and ask yourself, what are you most passionate about? And start your content from that point. I see so many, I don't know about you, but I'm very turned off by when I see content that I can just tell people are doing it to just get views or attention, and it doesn't seem authentic, and it's like kind of cringy, and like I've fallen in that direction a little bit from time to time, and then I always feel it, and I'm always like, I'm not like liking this. Like, that's why if I ever make content with my wife, like couples content, it's like, I can't just do traditional couples content. It's got to be weird. It's got to be different. And like, I have to put my touch on it. Like, because you could just so easy just do the cookie cutter couples content and probably get attention. But I would first answer that question is like, what are you most passionate about? And then understand that it is a long game. Like, yeah, you can like overnight have success, like you can hit the lottery and get 1 million views overnight, and that could change your life, or you get 1 million views overnight and get nothing changes. Like I've had both happen, like where I've had a video hit and then the next day I wake up with 10 to 20,000 new followers, but I've gotten 5 million views on a video and I've gotten nothing from it. So it's like, you got to also understand there's such a gamble to this process, and it is such a long game, and it's just about consistency. Like, I think now more than ever, it's like they say, I mean, some people have said like, you need to be posting 2 to 3 videos a day. I would say don't burn yourself out too quick, but do something realistic where you can post a couple videos a week if you want to start out. I think is probably a smart bet. I think, do whatever's realistic to you, and also don't limit yourself to the tools. Like, you don't have to go in immediately and be like, well, I can't do this because I don't have the nice enough camera. It's like, just use your cell phone. If anything, I think a lot of content that does better now is content that's shot on a cell phone, because for some reason it feels more relatable to people, or there's like it feels more authentic, if something's shot on the cell phone. The writer's room videos that I do, we shoot them on a cell phone,
Okay.
But yeah, those are the few things that I'll probably have 10 more things I could think of, but those are the first few.
Okay. No, I mean, I understand that too, because like even for me, I've always learned too, and I don't know if you could relate to this, but like people go back to watch stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
People will go back to watch stuff that you did maybe in 2009 or 2011, 2018.
Don't watch my 2009 content. Please don't. We're taking most of it down.
But people go back, my point being is that people go back and watch it and actually bring that up time later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it becomes nostalgic for some people, especially especially fans that like have stuck with you for quite some time. Like, I have people bring up videos that I've done like 10 years ago, and like, I'm like, you were even watching me then? But that's the coolest part of this process.
No, absolutely.
One of them.
So the second question I have is that if you had a go-to karaoke song, what would it be and why?
Well, lately, I mean, Creed, Higher. You take me higher. Like, that is, I love it in karaoke so much. I mean, that's it. That's my go-to. Yeah.
I just always see the memes of everybody singing it as soon as that plays.
Creed is having a resurgence, man. I think people slept on him for a while, and then now they're realizing the greatness.
Yeah. I mean, I love that song. I think it's only 2 songs of Creed I know, so I apologize to those fans out there.
I'm offended. But it's okay. We can continue this.
Okay, and then how about this one? Any hidden talents that maybe someone might not know?
Probably not, because if I had a talent, I'd probably have exploited it by this point. I don't think so, truly.
No, so like juggling or anything like that people might not know?
No. Like I said, if I'm good at something, I've probably utilized it on stage or something at something by this point. Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Not truly. Even like
How about you? Do you have one?
No.
No? Yeah. Because we're entertainers. If we had a gift, we would have used it somehow by now, I think.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. Coming here early. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's all good.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, I just like always say search Shane Hartline on socials and I'll pop up. But yeah, nearly wrestling on Instagram. Something I definitely want to push too. Something I'm very excited about. We just had our first show, which you were at. I appreciate you coming, and yeah, hopefully more shows very soon.
And now, finally, are you proud of the story you created thus far for yourself?
Absolutely. I think that you have to be, like, regardless of if wherever you're at in life, like, I think that you have to meet where you're at with gratitude for the journey that got you here, but also realize that it is, I like to look at time as it's like passing through you. It's not like a line that goes back behind you or in front of you. So like, also don't put too much, in my opinion, don't put too much stress on if you've had a past that you didn't like, because it really kind of doesn't exist anymore. It only exists. I like to believe that the only thing that exists is the present, you know?
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Well, Shane,
dude,
thank you so much
Thank you for
being
having
on.
me, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.